which hunt is a hoax. Thank you.
President Trump this morning in New York with an alleged reporter yelling at him, "Did you get your bail money? Did you get your bail money?" "It's a witch hunt and a hoax," said President Trump. While arriving in court, not for the alleged defrauding of banks that weren't defrauded, no bank, no lender complained at all. But President Trump in court today for what they're calling the hush money case. The hush money case. You know, it's a non-disclosure agreement. NBC News has lots of non-disclosure agreements with lots of people. It's pretty normal practice at NBC News because they have, a lot of Matt Lauer. Where in the world is Matt Lauer? Groping and sexually abusing all the women and locking the door to his office and got that vibrating closet and the button under the desk and all that stuff. But President Trump arriving in New York at court today. And, never mind that. Now, President Trump, again, is supposed to be ponying up $454 million in bond. Nearly $500 million. And the left-wingers, they're all mentally ill. We're going to need more mental institutions. We got a nice tweet from a wonderful person. I hope I can use her name, Pam Marchetti. Pam Marchetti sent along a nice tweet. New York federal prosecutors described the fraudster Sam Bankman-Fried, his alleged crimes, and the collapse of his $32 billion cryptocurrency empire as one of the largest financial frauds in U.S. history. His bail was $250 million. President Trump, there's no aggrieved party. His bail is $454 million. Isn't that amazing? Bernie Madoff, and he defrauded 37,000 people, bankrupted old people, living on their fixed incomes. And Bernie Madoff, an active Democrat, an active member of the Democrat Party, just by the way, Bernie Madoff had $10 million bond. Bernie Madoff faced a $10 million bond for the largest Ponzi scheme ever, with 37,000 victims, while Trump's bond is $454 million, and there is nobody that has been defrauded. The banks came in and testified during the course of the trial, said, no, he's got real estate. We're good at assessing the value of his real estate. We loan money based on his assets. He pays us back with interest. We're happy. We go to our houses in the Hamptons on weekends, and everything is great. But that's not good enough because these people aren't on the side of the truth. That's not what they do. All right, let's get to some audio on this because it's a bloodbath. And again, Google changed the definition of the word bloodbath. When you Google the word bloodbath, they eliminated the definition of the word bloodbath, which was always in there and is still in there on Merriam-Webster's. But the Democrats at Google, left wing, West Coast, California, Silicon Valley, and that's not just their breast implants. I know that's a different thing. Yeah, but the definition of bloodbath has been thrown out by the corrupt people at Google, which is why they should be smashed under antitrust rules or something like that. But absolutely disgraceful. Now let's go back to this crazy story, and let's go to Letitia James. They call her Letitia. Do you think that's her real name? Is that an actual name, Letitia? That's great stuff. And she is a radical left-wing, Republican-hating, Trump-hating, anti-law and order, left-wing radical who ran on the proposition of targeting and getting Donald Trump when he was president because Trump derangement syndrome is a very real malady, and a lot of Democrats are suffering from this. And my friend Jim sent me a fun meme this morning of a cartoon of a mental asylum, a mental institution. It's looks like The Simpsons or something, with big sign, mental institution, and a giant house with cages on all the windows, where the woke used to live before the 70s, before the 1970s. And honestly, these people are very unwell. Letitia James is one of them. Now, here she is demonstrating her racism. She is a woman, presumably, at least from outward appearances, but with Democrats, you can never tell anymore. And she's a woman of color, WOC, as the Democrats say, because they're racists. And they have to differentiate based on your melanin levels and your ethnicity, and then they will judge you based on that, and they'll give you jobs or deny you jobs based on that because they're racist. DEI didn't earn it. And here's Letitia James. This was not yesterday, but a while. It's the Letitia James library, our audio library, where she says that the Trump administration is too white and too male. Too white and too male. Too many men, too many white people. She says male and pale because they love it when it rhymes. They love rhyming things. Like kill the Jews. It's in the news. From the river to the sea. The rhyming people, because they have the brains of children. Letitia James.
Stand up to an administration which is too male, too pale, and too stale.
And too stale. And listen to the crazy people. It's like Scream at the Sky Day.
Too male, too pale, and too stale.
Now they want to chant.
Too pale, and too stale.
Racist.
We will not go away silently.
We will not. No, go burn things down and steal things and loot things and shoot people and burn police cars and carjack people and, do what you Democrats do. So often, so frequently. They destroy things very well. Now, imagine if I were chanting. I can't even imagine what the equivalent would be. That, too female, she looks stale from here, I got to say. And, too dark, because, but being anti-white is mainstream because of the Democrat Party. They have self-loathing white people all over the place, self-loathing Jews all over the place. They have anti-Israel Jews all over the place. They have anti-white whites all over the place. And self-loathing is a major thing with them. But they've made anti-white racism, which is racism, very fashionable. They've made anti-Semitism very fashionable, the left. They've made mob street violence very fashionable. January 6th would have never happened were it not for the Democrat Party normalizing mob street political violence, which they did by way of hundreds and hundreds of violent riots across the country, which the likes of Ali Velci told us were mostly peaceful at MSDNC. I got a little clip of him today, too. Amazing stuff. So, too male, too pale, and too stale. She's a confirmed and avowed racist. She is a confirmed and avowed sexist. And then she likes rhyming, so she added stale. Got stale in there. Too male, too pale, and too stale. I honestly, Letitia, as a straight white male, you're just lucky to live in the same country as me. We are thinking about taking away your electricity. Not just yours, but all you people. That's right, you people. I said you people. Who are you people? Democrat voters. Democrat voters, I think, have to lose all electricity. We got to turn Democrat, like Manhattan, let's turn Manhattan into the Gaza. No electricity, no clean water. They couldn't do it for themselves, So let's go. Letitia James this is July 19th of 2018. President Trump is in the White House. She is dedicating herself to the proposition while she is not yet Attorney General of New York, dedicating herself to targeting one man, Donald Trump, and finding the charges later, whatever they may be. This goes to Joseph Stalin and one of the most brutal communist regimes, one of the most brutal regimes in the history of the world, the Stalinist Soviet Union, and his KGB chief, Lavrentiy Beria. And the famous line for Beria is, "Show me the man and I'll show you the crime." And Lavrentiy James over here is the Joseph Stalin KGB chief of today's Democrat Party.
No one is above the law, including this illegitimate president.
Election denier.
I look forward to going into the office of Attorney General every day, suing him, defending your rights, and then going home.
And then I like the "and then going home." That's kind of shows that she's actually lazy underneath it all. And then going home, but don't you want to stay late to target the political enemies of the Democrat Party and try to strip them of their property and jail them? You little fascist, you. This illegitimate president, in 2018, so she's an election denier. That was July 19th of 2018. Here she is November 7th of 2019.
Will you sue him for us?
Oh, we're going to definitely sue him. We're going to be a real pain in the He's going to know my name personally.
He's going to know my name personally. Well, you're going to be the Attorney General of New York, and he was the President of the United States at that time. They have really demented worldviews about pretty much everything. He's going to know and she was there kind of snuggling with a weird little woman. "Are you going to get him for me?" "Oh, I am. And he's going to know my name personally." What? Just amazing. The Attorney General of New York since 2019. These are demented people, Democrat Party. These are abuses of power. They're clear and obvious abuses of power. She's 65 years old. She was born in Brooklyn, New York. She is just a terrible, horrible, corrupt person. And I mean, that's the problem, is she's corrupt, politically corrupt. And Democrats applaud this stuff. She went to Lehman College for a BA and Howard University, and not Harvard, but Howard in D.C. for her law degree. And she's basically a communist.
President Trump could not avoid justice in the great state of New York.
Yeah, that's, That's couldn't avoid justice in the great state of New York. That was in 2020 while she is Attorney General. Just amazing stuff. Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez is an extremely dim-witted, ill-informed, misguided member of the House of Representatives and bartender. And she was on with her pal Jake Tapper, who's a former Democrat Capitol Hill staffer, on CNN. And boy, that they lie about everything.
It is my belief that all people should be treated equally under the law.
Lie.
I actually think that there is risk in not seizing these assets, and the open window that exists in him trying to secure these funds through other means. We've seen a lot of interesting transactions happening with Truth Social and other means, and there's a very real risk of political corruption.
Jake Tapper's on Team Democrat. He sits there silently nodding and smirking. And AOC, they got to seize his property by midnight tonight. Otherwise,
if that seizure of assets would be pursued to any other American, then Donald Trump should be treated the same.
Yeah, but no other American has ever been treated this way. Not Sam Bankman-Fried, not Bernie Madoff, not Bernie Madoff, who died in a penitentiary, died in prison. He had $10 million bail, defrauded tens of thousands of people out of many billions of dollars. Donald Trump defrauded no one. That is not equal justice under law, you little tin pot fascist.
That is not about being a Republican. It is not about being a Democrat.
Of course it is.
It's about being an unethical and individual who is subject and prone to criminality. And unfortunately, this is the state that we're in.
Yeah, unfortunately, this is the state that we're in. The United States of America, a once great country, spiraling out of control because the left is here. And we have a media environment that worships the likes of Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez who I wouldn't let wash my car. She'd screw it up somehow. Extraordinary times. I'm not done yet because, well, I've got Eric Trump coming up. And then, no sense of irony, Jen Psaki at MSNBC. We live in a very corrupt country, a very corrupt time. Oh, and Michael Beschloss. I love him. Your children may be killed if you listen to this soundbite, but probably not. Hey, it's Chris Plant, excited to tell you about our July 2024 Listener Sea Cruise. We'll be sailing around the British Isles, visiting Scotland and Ireland. Please join us. Visit chrisplantcruise.com. Now, the real fraud being perpetrated is the fraud that is being perpetrated by Tish James, Letitia James, a.k.a. Tish James, and Judge Arthur Engoron, who's a weird little man. And that's the real fraud here. Everybody who's paying attention knows that. But pay no attention. Now, again, Bernie Madoff, tens of billions of dollars in fraud, probably the biggest fraud ever. $10 million bond. And Sam Bankman-Fried, the tens of billions of dollars disappeared in his fake cryptocurrency thing, which was all imaginary. $250 million bond. Donald Trump, $454, and the media, they're all attacking him. Oh, see, he's not a billionaire because he doesn't have $454 million in cash sitting in a drawer like Senator Menendez with all his pockets in the closet stuffed with cash and gold bars. Let's grab a phone call, Michael. Let's go to Mike calling from Gaithersburg, Maryland. Mike, you're on the Chris Plant Show.
Hey, Chris. Good morning.
Hey, Mike.
Hey, it's the amount $454 million makes complete sense when you compare it to Bernie Madoff and Sam Bankman-Fried, simply because you have to keep up with inflation. That's those amounts plus the Biden inflation is $454 million.
So it would be a $10 million bond were it not for Joe Biden's Bidenomics and the economy that he has inflicted upon us.
Exactly.
So once you, it's a simple adjustment for inflation, and it's like food prices and empty grocery store shelves since the Democrats took over. So a simple inflation adjustment, you think, Mike, you must be an accountant or a tax expert of some kind.
Well, I'm not an economist per se, but I do read the Mother Jones occasionally.
Well, there you go. Well, that's all you need, I think, to be as smart as. Yeah, it's probably a good tip, Mike. You could be onto something. Lots more coming back. Oh, let's go because today is today's big day in President Trump's. The world of his legal wranglings that the Democrats have ginned up for political reasons because they're like Soviets, closer to being Soviets than they are to being John F. Kennedy or Robert F. Kennedy, much closer to Vladimir Putin on the political spectrum. I've been saying for many years the Democrat Party, they've been edging closer and closer. Today, on the political spectrum, the mainstream of the Democratic Party is closer to Lee Harvey Oswald than they are to John F. Kennedy. Also, if you look at the Democrat Party with Israel and Hamas, the Democrat Party is closer on the political spectrum to Sirhan Sirhan than they are to Robert F. Kennedy, the senior. They're closer to politically, socially, morally, ethically, rhetorically. They're closer to the assassins of John F. Kennedy and Robert F. Kennedy than they are to John F. Kennedy and Robert F. Kennedy. Honestly, if you look at where John F. Kennedy and Robert Kennedy, too, were politically, they're quite close to where I am politically. I didn't change. They did. It's, my mother, a lifelong Kennedy Democrat and all that. But, John F. Kennedy wouldn't recognize the Democrat Party today. He'd think that the Soviets won the Cold War. And he might be pretty close to right. Eric Trump, son of Donald Trump, was on yesterday on the Fox News channel or Fox Business with Maria Bartiromo. And Maria Bartiromo talking about this ridiculous $454 million bond when Bernie Madoff had a $10 million bond. So $454 million adjusted for inflation. Sam Bankman-Fried, $250 million bond, which was raised by other people, by the way. But never mind that. Eric Trump yesterday.
No one's ever seen a bond this size. Every single person, when I came to them saying, hey, can I get a $500 million bond? Maria, they were laughing. They were laughing. Yeah. Top executives of the largest surety companies had never seen anything of this size. And what, they're going to start seizing assets? If he can't put up something that's not available in the United States?
In the United States. And the lefties, they love to come up with these, like, who was it? Congressman Ted Lieu, who is a California Democrat, and he's perfectly comfortable lying about everything, I think, is the short version of that. About everything? Yeah, about everything. He's perfectly happy to lie about everything. And he put out a tweet, which, yeah, perhaps I'll share it, but I want to get to the, this proves that Trump isn't rich because he doesn't have $454 million in cash stuffed into pockets of jackets in his closet like Gold Bar Menendez. Just amazing clowns and hypocrites, these members of Congress. Where do we find these people? Eric Trump yesterday talking to Maria Bartiromo.
They're trying to put my father out of business. They're trying to take all his resources that he would otherwise put into his own campaign for presidency. They're going to hurt the thousands and thousands of employees that we have in New York State. These are janitors. These are doormen. These are, people that work in commercial buildings. They're going to hurt those individuals, not the executives. They're going to hurt those individuals.
They're going to hurt those individuals, and that has effect. Yeah, and they don't care because they're the left. That you got to break a few eggs to make an omelet. That's their explanation for murdering millions of people in the Soviet Union. And the New York Times went along with it. Walter Duranty. Hey, starving millions in Ukraine to death. Forget about Gaza. That's what the Soviets do. They do it by the millions, the tens of millions. Isn't that amazing? Yes, it is. And now let's go to, here is Democrat Biden campaign official Mitch Landrieu. Mitch Landrieu comes from a longtime Democrat family in New Orleans, Louisiana, the most corrupt city in America because the Democrats, it's worse than Chicago, because the Democrats have ruined the place over the years. And Mitch Landrieu's family, Mary Landrieu and the whole Landrieu clan, that's with a K. And Mitch Landrieu was the mayor of New Orleans. He became the mayor after C. Ray Nagin was found guilty of myriad felony crimes for defrauding people and money laundering. Remember, he was the mayor during Hurricane Katrina when he said, we're not going anywhere. We're going to party through the storm. And he ended up being sentenced to prison for 10 years, but the Democrats let him out real early, years early, because Democrats. You know how they are. But Mitch Landrieu was on CNN. And C. Ray Nagin's out of prison now, right? I think he's done his time, and he was sentenced to 10 years and for all of his corruption because Democrats steal a lot and lie a lot and cheat a lot, and they just consider it to be perfectly normal. And New Orleans, there's a competition. New Orleans or Chicago, the most corrupt Democrat city in America. But being from Chicago, maybe I'm biased. I don't know. I might put my money on New Orleans, but it could go either way. Mitch Landrieu on the, it's really, this is all about electoral politics and targeting their political enemies.
The jury that matters the most is the American people on Election Day. And Joe Biden is going to take it to Donald Trump and whoop him where it matters. People can take note that Donald Trump is out on bail right now, and he's trying to find bond. And while we're talking about how he's going to do that, people should not forget the reason why he's out on bail is because he has 88 federal criminal indictments pending against him.
which the Democrats have ginned up in Georgia, where Stacey Abrams still denies that she lost the gubernatorial election. I like the word gubernatorial. Now, we started with MSDNC and their corruption, how they're upset that Ronna Romney McDaniel was hired by NBC Fake News to be a Republican voice, a Republican commentator. And as an incredibly unsuccessful RNC chairwoman, still they're having hissy fits over there and soiling their undergarments, one after another. Chunk Todd and Joke Scarborough and his semi-inflatable flotation device of a third wife and so on. And then you turn the corner, and there's Joe Biden's press secretary, who has a 1-hour show on MSDNC, Jen Psaki, a.k.a. Jen Psaki, and they've got some kind of testicular fortitude with the lies that they tell and the people that they have tell the lies. Absolutely, absolutely amazing. Pretending that Donald Trump he's not a billionaire because he doesn't have a drawer with $454 million in cash in it.
The Republican nominee, who also is a self-professed billionaire, that's an important part, Donald Trump, has a substantial cash problem, and a big one. If there is one thing that Donald Trump loves, it's other people's money.
Yeah, OPM, billionaires borrow other people's money all the time. Maybe if you got $400 billion like some Democrats, then you don't have to, but most people do. So this is the big phony that, he's not really a billionaire. And this is what that ridiculous California Congressman Ted Lieu said, that this proves Trump isn't a billionaire and it's all a lie. And that prompted Mark Cuban, who is a billionaire and a Democrat, to jump in and say, no, billionaires don't leave $500 million in cash sitting around. Because then it's depreciating and devaluing with each rotation of the planet Earth. But you invested in things that will appreciate over time. MSDNC then went to a person named Melissa Murray.
The easiest option facing Donald Trump is the prospect of bankruptcy.
See, this is their dream. They want to bankrupt, and they peddle this lie. MSDNC, a person named Don Calloway.
They know about all of the foolishness. They know about all of the corruption and everything that Donald Trump is, because there's people who want the bad guy to be president.
The bad guy is Joe Biden, and the bad guy is Barack Obama. And you guys are really pushing it past the brink, beyond the ken, just like you did when you fired on Fort Sumter. Michael Beschloss pretends to be a presidential historian, and he's a rich kid, candy ass, grew up with servants and chauffeurs and all the best, Philip Sandover in private schools and the whole thing. Michael Beschloss this morning peddling a series of falsehoods.
Presidents in history, we elect them because they've been a success in their profession. I was mentioning Washington Lincoln. General Grant won the war, the Civil War, or did a lot to help us win the Civil War.
Beat the Democrats.
Dwight Eisenhower led forces on D-Day. If Dwight Eisenhower had failed on D-Day and those forces had been turned back and they'd go back into the sea, do you think he would have had a prayer of being elected in 1952? So Donald Trump this week is going to be shown as essentially a fraud. This was never a successful businessman, someone who does not obey the law, someone who will not support the Constitution.
Now, again, Mark Cuban jumped in because he had heard enough and said, to Ted Lieu, Democrat Congressman, California, you're a ridiculous person if you think that billionaires leave $500 million in cash sitting around in case the Democrats come after him for a shakedown. That is completely ridiculous. But that's what they're peddling. And if you get your fake news from MSDNC, then it's not that you don't know anything. It's just that everything you know is wrong. And Michael Beschloss, who I used to know a little bit when he was at CNN and I was at CNN, has gone over the falls in a barrel. He's lost his mind. And then he came out and lied about a number of things, including President Trump being bad for NATO, opposite of the truth.
Our security and that of our children, we Americans, is protected by an elaborate system of alliances. Joe, you and Mika have talked about a lot, beginning with NATO. Donald Trump has said, yes, elect me president again, I will vandalize NATO, and under certain circumstances, I'll tell Putin, do whatever the hell you want. Direct quote.
Right. While he was poking NATO countries that don't pay their fair share. Remember the pay your fair share thing? The Democrats used to like that, but that's only when they're talking about Americans. That's they lie about everything. Now and I can prove that what Beschloss just said is a lie because the Secretary General of NATO, Jens Stoltenberg, was asked about Donald Trump about 2 weeks ago, and he explained that Donald Trump's nudging of NATO countries actually incited them to pay more of their fair share and to strengthen NATO.
The criticism coming from former President Trump has been against NATO allies not spending enough on NATO. And there things have really changed. Now more and more NATO allies are spending at least 2%, the NATO guideline of GDP on defense. And now Sweden joined today. They are spending more than 2%. So European allies and Canada are really making difference now by significantly increasing what they spend on defense.
By significantly increasing what they spend on defense because President Trump shamed them and cajoled them and did a usual Trump thing. Oh, tell Putin to do what he wants. That's his way of shaming them and poking them in the chest with his fingertip. And then Jens Stoltenberg, the Norwegian Secretary General of NATO a couple of weeks ago, explained that actually strengthened NATO in a big way. And I can't go to Michael Beschloss without going to my favorite, because this is what you get. And it's not that he has a low IQ, that he's an unintelligent person. He's been corrupted by the politics of today, Michael Beschloss. And that makes you an unintelligent person, an unserious person. And Trump isn't Dwight Eisenhower on D-Day. No, you're right, he's not. And so he's not successful. Why would we elect an unsuccessful person who can't come up with a $454 million cash bond? And then they say, we're going to take his buildings that are worth more than that in exchange. And if he doesn't pay by midnight today, well, that proves that he's pretty successful, doesn't it? If you can steal $500 million from him by seizing his real estate holdings, which you've lied about the value of, while accusing him of lying about the value of the same real estate holdings, it proves that you are the liars and probably the criminals and should be at least disbarred, if not charged with crimes. But Michael Beschloss telling us the midterm elections when President Trump was president, so the 2018 midterm elections, and Michael Beschloss warned that if the Republicans won control of the House and the Senate, they would probably murder your children.
What was at stake tonight and this week was the fact whether we will be a democracy in the future, whether our children will be arrested and conceivably killed. We're on the edge of a brutal authoritarian system, and it could be a week away.
That's it. That's your media. That's Beschloss academia. Now, you guys have killed like 4 million infants in the womb since then, including 40% of the black population that was conceived during that period of time. But Jens Stoltenberg, the NATO Secretary General, put that whole thing to rest, but they still spread the falsehood. They still spread the lie. They don't follow the news. They're not honest people, and they've been corrupted by the left. They call themselves liberals, but that's a lie. They're not liberals. Well, we still have Russia and the terrorist attack there, and Israel, and the Democrats are anti-Israel. They're anti-American. They're anti-Bill of Rights. They're not really the best neighbors to have, I think. That's coming up. Well, I have an update that eluded us for a few minutes here, but an appellate court has just given President Trump a big break. They've reduced the amount of money he has been ordered to produce from $454 million to $175 million, and they have given him 10 days rather than midnight tonight to come up with this shakedown money, this gangster money. An appeals court on Monday gave Donald Trump a lifeline, cutting his bond down to $175 million. He had previously told the court he could not secure the $454 million in cash bond in his alleged fraud case. Trump will also have 10 days to pay it rather than a midnight tonight deadline, which was imposed by these fascist, Nazi, commie, Soviet, KGB pigs that we call Democrats, I think. Trump is on the hook for the bulk of the giant judgment. As of Monday, he personally owes the state of New York $457 million. Sure. The former president was originally given 30 days from the February 23rd judgment to pay up or secure an appeal bond to cover the cost of the penalty while he fought the ruling in court. This whole thing is utterly third world. It's, like unga balungala, bangalahuga. And we should be pounding on logs with sticks across the United States to communicate with one another, because this is a disgrace to our judicial system, to our system of justice, such as it is. And I would like to see the Supreme Court get involved in this. This is letting a little air out of the tires here to allow things to progress a bit. But boy, this country is in a very bad place. Very bad place. We were going to come back and make fun of Michael Beschloss more with some of the other ridiculous things that he said about how, in America, we're going to be, our children and grandchildren will be asking us about where we were when Cassidy Hutchinson testified to the January 6th committee. She has been proved to be a liar and a fraud. Everything she said was debunked. Nobody remembers her name. Her parents don't even remember her name. But that's what we get. And I'm going to have to get the terror in Moscow and war in Israel. This is Joe Biden's presidency. Things are going so well. I'm going to have to get back to that tomorrow.